Okay, so I want to talk about how government officials are sort of pushing or paying people to commit crime and violence. Okay. For example, typically it's black identified people, but it could really be anyone. Um, they find, so state officials, government officials, they find a black identified person, typically homeless and unstable, right? Emotionally unstable. And they either like intimidate, interrogate, or push that person, or they simply pay them to attack someone on camera. And they record it as a sort of, propaganda, scapegoat propaganda, but mostly as a distraction, right? This divide and conquer sort of propaganda and as a distraction, right? If people remember, there was these cops. I forgot exactly where they were, but they like pushed this elderly person, and he like was like knocked unconscious, head bleeding, right? Caught on camera. I think like maybe a few days or within a week later, there was this video where this black coated passing person pushed this elderly person, but it was orchestrated. They found like an unstable, homeless black coated passing person and pushed them or paid them to attack this elderly person as this almost sort of counter propaganda. Because one thing about it that where it's just coming more clearly, it's kind of like unintelligent. Like it's kind of almost cartoonish, where they will try to almost copy, like if there was a video of like um, a cop, I don't know, making someone slip and fall something, they would get a video of someone making someone slip and fall. Like they try to emulate or copy the thing, almost like as this counterbalance, but in this sort of ridiculous way. But um, that's what they're doing. Like, and in a lot of cases, like some cases it's unsure, but like that shooting in New York, I feel like that was another case of it. Um, right? It's not only as this sort of propaganda where they want you to be scared of like, because sometimes they do Muslims as well, like, um, or any pop. Sometimes it's brown cast people, but they. It's not only as propaganda; it's also as a way to sort of justify the current system. Like, see, we need to protect you. Like, to justify the police system sometimes. Like, see, we need to protect you. This type of that thing and the fourth. Right. So then that was one case. Another other case, there was like these Black Lives Matter protests. Someone got hit on a freeway. I feel like that was another case where it has happened. There was a case where this kid was like singing um, on the block, for like money, and someone jumped out of a car and punched him. That was another time where it was planned, it's orchestrated. Okay, and you know, and they're willing to use anyone as bait. They don't care about anybody, but except maintaining the current system. Okay, like you can tell, like people got shot in New York, no one died. It's like ridiculous, messy things sometimes. But yeah, our state and government officials, like I'm not exactly sure what sort of wing or department or if it's like separate, but they definitely coordinate with officials. They coordinate with the media. They coordinate with the police sometimes. Okay, but it is sort of integrated into the arm of government. And another thing with that, it's like color cast people, especially black cast people, you're so obsessed with produce projecting this image. Like you're so obsessed with representation because you want people to basically like you and perceive you in a certain way. but it's so counterproductive because they're constantly doing this. The only reason that they're so comfortable with like having like a black coated Spider-Man or something like that is because like you guys always expect people just to start liking black identified people or color cast people or tribal cast people, whatever, Muslims, because of this sort of representation, but they're constantly, there's just always this constant, news corporations are constantly bombarding us with this sort of stigmatizing propaganda intentionally, right? As long as there's shows like the first 48, 90% of the episodes are like about black coded people as if other populations don't commit crime, people are going to be scared of you. It's like so counterproductive. It's so foolish. Like they're constantly running with us with these black identified brown cast mugshots all over YouTube, all over the news. It's pointless. Okay, but it's interesting. Like it seems like there's no good people because it's like yeah, these people are bad, but the only reason why we're not progressing is because color cast and all these other marginalized or other groups are bad too. You guys are so focused on being manipulative and bullying instead of, you know, dismantling or realizing the system. Like we're not sort of perceiving this sort of shady manipulation and bullying and because we're too busy doing that ourselves. Right? Because there's other things like Bill Cosby. That was intentional. That wasn't orchestrated. They wanted to like they released Bill Cosby, like the whole thing. Like the plan was to have Bill Cosby arrested and to release him so that to sort of distort or counter that narrative that white cast men, you know, get a slap on the wrist or have this sort of immunity, right? It's hard for them to go to prison for the same things and that type of thing. So they sort of released Bill Cosby to counter that narrative as like this deflection tool, this distraction, this distortion, throwing us off balance type of thing. It's a plan, it's orchestrated, and people just fall for it hook, line, and sinker. That's the levels they are going to try to maintain, um, you know, the system. Though, again, they're all getting away with it because everyone is sort of doing the same tactics, but with in a less institutionalized, sort of organized way, which is kind of pathetic.